My name is Charlie Holmes, born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, and proud to be from there.
What does it mean to live with a CORI as an older Black man today?
Today, after many years of being shameful and avoiding different jobs that I was qualified for, but I unable to obtain due to my CORI, I found out that my life would have been different. Well, me being in the communication industry, I could have I was offered high-level management positions that I knew if I received those, they would have went back and found out of my incarceration when I was a very young man in 1989.
How has living with a CORI affected your family, employment, and housing?
Well, I've been impacted in all different ways, yeah. First of all, I just touched briefly on my employment. Currently, I'm a small business owner due to the fact of I couldn't go any further in the industry with a CORI, so I couldn't obtain those management jobs at AT&T, T-Mobile. I was on the ground floor when cell phones first came to light in our community. So being in that first realm, I'd have been way up the ladder as my counterparts are with definitely six-figure incomes. So me, I had to settle and stay self-employed in order to feed my family at the time. So that was one major issue, was my employment. I remember one time, in which was almost tearful. I went inside of a restaurant with some top executives from Comcast Communications. And it's like, well, we're gonna let Charlie in, he only has one armed robbery, you know. And he said this at the table and I just laughed it off, but it really was tearful when I left out of here. I was hurt because I was freed from prison. Okay, I did make one mistake, never went back before. I was in and out of prison my whole life. I obtained a college degree after getting out of there. And I was in charge of 55 reps. And I was very profitable, but I knew I could not go to the next level because of that. And little slick comments like that, I just had to learn how to live with it, a lot of humility, and I don't wish that upon anyone, especially me being a young Black man of color in a real white industry at the time. So I was used for my ability to sell. I was the top salesman in every category, but I was succumbed to those situations, made me have to give that money to my counterparts who did not have a one-time criminal record. I only had one offense. I did one amount of time, and that was it. And I've been punished for it ever since. But at the end of the day, I'm an accomplished author and still a small business owner, so God made a way possible. But I would have been in a comfortable income, but I just had to push for it. So we just got to keep pushing forward and making the best out of the situation we have. But I wouldn't wish it upon anyone.
If the CORI process was revised and was not a part of the housing decision, what would that have meant for you?
Well, being a young man, I was married with a young family, and I had to go through my wife in order to get certain things done. I had to go, because of my background and things like that. I wish I could have, even though everything was in my name I was paying for, we had to kind of like use her name as that first step in there to obtain new construction. I mean, we were very successful, but I couldn't put it on paper too much where I was at, because I was self-employed as well as her. And so we got a house built, but it was very complicated and difficult. And it was only by the grace of God that we obtained it. I've seen other people struggle with it. The housing crisis is critical. It made me become a community activist for the way I was treated, and I don't want anybody to grow up and be treated like that. I'm no longer ashamed of it. During my last job search, where I got a nice job where I helped train medical professionals to deal and interact with our community. They called me in the office and they said, "Why didn't you cover this up?" I'm like, "Well, it's too late now. Either you want me or you don't." Okay, so I developed that type of attitude over 30-some years later. It's been quite a few years later. A few decades later, I was like, if only they knew the type of person I am, that they should be lucky to have me.
How many years has it been since your incarceration up until now?
Well, I got sentenced in 1990. So you're looking at 1 decade, 31 years ago, if I could be exact. The crime was committed 32 years ago. And it's something that I was the first-time offender.
If you had the opportunity to speak with policymakers about the impact of the CORI, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that, my crime, even with the so-called laws they have now, for my crime was armed robbery, it still was 18 years before you could even get it sealed. Even when they had a record sealing process, I would let them tell them directly that they're affecting a lot of good people's lives that already did their time. A lot of times these are nonviolent crimes. They were caught up in the 80s and 90s with the drug eras, where there was increased sentencing on black youth and things. I believe a nonviolent offender, man, shouldn't be, once you get released from prison, your record shouldn't follow you for the rest of your life. It's crippling people, it's unfair, and it's part of systemic racism.